top 5 Batista wrestling cards. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Today we're going to be looking at the top 5 Batista cards. And I put these in order of my personal favorites, and this always comes from when I see the card, what do I think? What is its significant history in the hobby? Is it worth a lot of money? Is it a rookie card? Or is it just something that I think is cool? That's kind of what sums up the top 5. It's not necessarily what the hobby thinks is the top 5, but hey, it's my channel, so here's my top 5. But as always, we've got to start off with an honorable mention. Honorable mention, 2017 Upper Deck Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy Purple PMG. If you've consumed any of my content via social media, podcasts, or on this here channel, you know I love PMGs of all kinds, all colors, all releases. It doesn't matter the sport or, in this case, non-sport. I just think PMGs are awesome. Not to mention, at the time that this came out, this was only the second wrestler, if you don't want to count Shaq or Dennis Rodman in the basketball releases. But as an actual wrestler, this is only the second PMG to come out. Previously, the only one was the Hogan Employee Exclusive, which I've talked about. Again, I did a whole video on that in the archives of this channel. Check that out. But when I saw this, I knew I had to have one. And I know it's Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not Dave Batista or Batista from WWE. But it's still an awesome card, so I had to put it here on this honorable mention. I do hate the fact that it's not numbered, though. That sucks. Number 5, 2020-21, tops this moment in history, card number 2, Evolution Takes All the Gold, print run of 85. Now, I'm not the biggest fan overall of these print-on-demand type things, although I think it is cool when they put it out and they only do so many. Like I said, this only has a print run of 85, which on the surface, some of you may think, well, that's quite a bit. Well, it is, but a lot of times, some of these things that are on these on-demand services, they tend to be a little bit harder to find on the secondary market. But I just love this card because it represents, in my opinion, one of the greatest factions. I know we've got NWO and we've got the Four Horsemen. You could put the Bloodline in there. I'm not saying that this is better than that. I'm just saying that when I remember Batista, I automatically think of Evolution and just kind of the huge reign they had. And when you look at this card, the image, again, I'm not the biggest fan of like moment cards, and everybody hates moment and match cards from what I've heard a lot of people in the hobby talk about. A lot of people don't like that stuff when Topps or NXT put, or even like the 2022 Panini puts out stuff that has like moments or something like that. People just aren't as big a fan of that, but this one specifically, I absolutely love it. They've got all the gold, just like you remember them, and it does span multiple generations of wrestling. Card number 4, 2002 Fleer WWE Royal Rumble, card number 67. Most people know this card. This is what many people consider to be the pack-pulled official Batista wrestling card. I'm sure he's got some other appearances in the 2002 Fleer sets that are out there, but this one is the one that most people look at when they're like, hey, what's the Batista rookie card? And surprisingly, most of the community has agreed this is it, which the community never agrees. And while I'm not the biggest fan of action shots, and let's, kind of take the rookie card debate out of this, it is important that it is a rookie card. But this image is actually pretty cool because it shows like the power of him doing a move and clotheslining a guy. So it's definitely important and had to make the list, but I didn't want to rank it any higher than number 4. Card number 3, 2023 WWE Prism Undercard Image Variation, Deacon Batista, card number 8. I love this, and maybe it's just because I love gimmicks and characters, and honestly, when I go back in time in wrestling and I think of Deacon Batista as a character, didn't really make that much of an impact, and maybe wasn't the best character. But when you look at it from a card perspective, image variations are always fun. And to kind of pull this gimmick back, I think he looks awesome in this. I think the image is great. I think it was a cool character. I mean, look at him. He's got that chain around his neck, looking imposing, looking like a professional wrestler. Not to mention with the undercard, you get that cool, like, disco donut circle thing. Like, people call it different things in different segments of the hobby because they are named different things in different sports. But for WWE, it is undercard. And I know, sure, most people may look at undercard or parallels in general or Deacon Batista image variation as just a gimmick. But hey, guys, it's wrestling. Wrestling's all about gimmicks. Card number 2, 2022 Panini Chronicles Origins, card number 137. So I've talked about plenty of times before in these top 5 videos or in the Worlds Collide podcast I've done with Tony Vella. Those are all in the archives of this channel. But I've talked about how I don't really like action shots per se. I mentioned that the one on the 2002 Fleer Royal Rumble card is actually a pretty good shot. But for the most part, I like posed studio shots or posed live shots, on the turnbuckle, on a stage, something like that. And with this card, when I see this image, I immediately think of his entrance and the pyro and that gun thing that he does as he comes out and the pyro shoots off behind him and that pose that he's doing. Not to mention, I love the Origins card design. There's something about just the color popping out on the back. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I always thought the Origins set within Chronicles, no matter who was on it, great card design. And maybe it's just because I love 90s basketball cards and that kind of reminded me of it. I don't know. Card number 1, 2014 Edibus WWE Lamon cards, card number 7. I've talked about these cards before, and I don't think I can ever pronounce them right. Let me know in the comments if you have a correct pronunciation of these things. Right offhand, I can't remember where these were produced, but I know it was not in the United States. These cards, if I remember correctly, are more of an acetate and clear, so you can kind of see through the back and the front. But let's look again at this image. It's very similar to the one we just talked about in the Origins set. He's got that pose. You think it's that entrance pose, not to mention to match the entrance. We're used to all that pyro going off behind him, right? So the design of this card makes it look like there's flames behind it. I talked about that in the top 5 videos with Kane that I did, and how that fire is always synonymous with Kane. Kind of the same thing here with the image that's used, that the pyro that we're always used to seeing. When Batista comes out and does that pose with the machine gun thing that he always does, that's immediately what I thought about with this card. It sent me back to his entrance and his time during that ruthless aggression era. What do you think about Batista cards, or any of the ones I've talked about today? What's your favorite Batista card? Let me know in the comments what you think of anything that I've mentioned. And when you're done leaving a comment, make sure to check out all the links in the show notes below for all the other ways that you can help show your support for my content. Links to my eBay store, my Patreon, all my social media accounts, and much more. If today's video brought you some value, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, tell a friend, spread the word, not only about wrestling cards, but about this channel. Let's get more people into the hobby, no matter what they're collecting. And until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content in the archives of this channel that I mentioned before, and I'll see you there.